This is 7:15 class presenting the lesson for the day on simplifying radicals. We're on page 538, written exercises 1 to 44, and our helpers today are the early morning students. Wide awake?
Mighty Meg.
Neat Nicholas.
Vince.
Steffi.
The superb,
Patrick.
the placid one.
Marion.
Maria's not here this morning.
Thanks, Maria. Okay, number 1 on 538. The directions say simplify, assume that all variables
Maria
represent
died.
positive real numbers. So number 1, Maria, will start with you. Copy the problem.
She died.
Oh,
You missed
what-
that
we
announcement.
resurrected her. Times 2 radical 3. So using the commutative property, move the 5 times 2 together and get
10 radical 6, or 9.
9, which is 3 times 8. Excuse me, which is a perfect square. I'll have to wake up. So that'd be 10 times,
3,
which is
30.
30. And circle your answer. Number 3, we have those 3 radicals multiplied together, and the product property, Marion allows us to multiply them all under one radical, so we get what?
36.
The square root of 36, which is
6.
6. Number 5, 2 radical 5 times radical 7, which equals what, Vincent?
2 times radical 35.
Is there a perfect square in 35?
No.
No, so we're done. Number 7, square root of 3 times the square root of 27. Steffi?
It's the square root of 81, which is 9.
Good. Number 9, the square root of 11 times the square root of 44. Patrick?
Oh. Alright, it's 484, so it's 44.
Square root of what?
484.
Right. And if you just investigate 44, that's 4 times 11, so it's, 4 is a perfect square, and you got 2 11s, so it must be 2 times 11, which is
22.
22. You can analyze that without a calculator if you don't know it. Number 11, 6 radical 72. Meg?
6 radical,
Well, we know 9 times 8 makes 72, but the 8 has a 4 in it. So you can take that out. 9 times 4 is,
36.
the largest perfect square in there is 36. And that's times 2. So if you take the square root of 36 out, you get
6 times
6 times 6 radical 2, which is
6. 36.
36 radical 2. 13, the square root of 3h, use 2 lines for the fractions, times the square root of 8/3. Since we're multiplying, we could move them both under one radical sign, so that would be what, Nick?
3/8 times 8/3.
And then we can do what?
You can simplify or cancel.
So that's the square root of,
1.
which is
1.
1. Good, 15. Square root of 8 11ths times the square root of 22 32s. Maria?
You put it all under the same radical. So it's 8 11ths times 22 is 52. And you can simplify so that 11's a 1 and the 22 is a 2 and the 8's a 1 and the 32 is a 4. So it equals to 4.
Well, actually, well, let's leave it that way, because if I make it 1/2, then I have to rationalize, right? So we can just go ahead and leave it there. Then the square root of 2 over the square root of 4, which equals what?
The square root of 2 is equal.
Right. Because I knew if I simplified, I'd get 1/2, which in turn would make me have to rationalize the denominator. We just left it as 4 and saved us a little step here and there. Number 17, the square root of 3/4 times the square root of 8/9. Marion?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Put under the same radical sign of 3/4 times 8/9. Then simplify or cancel 1, and then 3 goes into 9 3 times, and then 4 goes into 8 2 times. So it's 2/3.
So that'll break down to the square root of 2 over the square root of 3, correct? And we cannot, that would have been the fraction, and there we have to split it. So we can't leave the square root of 3 in the denominator's place, so rationalize it, multiply the top and bottom by what?
Radical 3.
So we get
6 radical 6
over,
radical 9.
which is going to equal,
Radical 3 times 6 over 3.
right. $19. You can change those into fractions immediately if you want to. Vincent?
Alright, so
All right.
18 over 5 times radical 5 over 2, put them under the same bracket, so it'll be 18 over 5 times 5 over 2, and that's going to be 9 over 1, so it'll equal radical 9, and radical 9 is just 3.
That's correct. 21. The square root of 10/13 times the square root of 1/2.
Put it under the same radical.
All right.
So the 10 becomes a 5. 2 cancels out. So you have the square root, or radical 5 over radical 13.
And then rationalize it.
That equals, you multiply by radical 13 over radical 13.
If you want to
And
start,
so
well, multiply the top, you get the square root of 5 times 13. You don't need to count.
65.
65. Now, how many are catching on? I mean, we could write the square root of 169, but the square root of 13 times the square root of 13 is
Is
going to be
13.
what number?
13.
13. So you can stop writing that if you understand that. Because we're trying to get rid of the radical sign. And that perfect square will do that. Okay, 23. We have 6 radical 7 over radical 35. How are you going to handle this one, Patrick?
Oh, it would be 6, and then you try the radical at 7 over 35.
Yeah, I would put them together and simplify because the 7's going to go into 35, and at least we'll get one perfect square on top.
And that would be 6, and then radical 7.
No, one radical,
Oh,
one
1, yes. Yeah,
fifth.
1 radical 5.
so that'd be 6 times the square root of 1,
1, and then square root of 5.
rationalize,
Square root of 5. And that would be 6 times the square root of 5 over 5.
right. Now, if 5 and 6, if there was something, some common factor they shared, you could cancel that, but you cannot cancel the 5 with the radical 5. That's 2 different numbers. 25 are 2 different, completely, they don't have to share anything. 25, you have 3 times the square root of 48 over 9. Meg?
That would be 3 radical 48. Well,
You
okay.
could simplify, but why do I not want to here?
Because
I could take out a 3, but then that would make the 9 a what? And then I'd have to rationalize, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I just leave it alone, it is a perfect square. So what do I have now? 3 radical
Radical 3.
48 over
Over
3. And I can cancel those out, and all I have to do is simplify radical 48, which is what?
Radical 16 times 3,
Which is,
which is 4 radical 3.
yeah, always look carefully at your problems to see if there's a better way of doing it. Number 27. 14 radical 320 over 2 radical 5. Any ideas, Nick? What should we do?
We could we simplify the 2 and
Yeah, make that a
7.
7. And does 5 go into 320?
Yes.
And then that would throw it out of the denominator, wouldn't it? So we just have 7 radical what?
64.
64. Which is going to give us,
Oh, we could have 7 radical.
no, what's the square root of 64?
Oh, 8.
So the answer is,
7 times 8, which equals 56.
right. Number 29. We have the distributive property. So everything inside the parentheses is multiplied by radical 5. Maria? So square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is
25.
square root of 25. And then negative 2 times radical 5 is negative,
Oh, negative 2 radical
right. Can't go across that square root sign. Any simplifying from there?
5. The square root of 25 is 5. Minus 2
Would you-
radical 5.
Would you like this for,
Thank you. Thank you.
can you do anything with that 5 minus 2?
Make it 3 radical.
Careful. By order of operations, can I subtract before I take 2 times radical?
Oh, no.
No. So there's nothing I can do.
Oh,
Okay, so be real careful. Number 31, you have 3 radical 2 times negative 2 radical 8 times 3 radical 27. I suggest you multiply the whole numbers together first, then see what happens after that.
Alright.
So Marion?
Okay. Negative 18 radical,
Well, I know 2 times, what do you get?
432.
432?
Mm-hmm.
Does everyone agree?
Yep.
Is that a perfect square?
Mm,
no.
Nope.
Okay, 2 times 8 is what? So there's a 16 in there and a 27, right?
uh,
And that 27 has a what in it? So 9 times 16 must be a perfect square. What is that?
4. Wait, what?
144.
144. Okay, I found it. Largest perfect square is,
144.
so take that out, that'd be negative 18 times 12, and what's left under the radical?
3.
3. So what's negative 18 times 12, Marion?
Negative 216.
Right. As you're multiplying something like that, consider your perfect squares, because 2 times 8 obviously is going to give you 1. And then 27, the 9 is in there, so that way we can figure it out from there. 33. 4 radical a squared b times 3 radical b. Vincent?
Alright, 12 radical a squared b squared.
Those are even exponents, so they must be perfect squares, so we can rewrite it as,
12 ab radical.
no,
No, I mean
square root of a squared is a, the square root of b squared is
b.
b. You're done. There's your answer. 35. Negative x radical x squared y times y radical xy squared. Okay, Steffi?
You have negative xy.
Now suggestion. Do not make that x cubed. Make it x squared times x times y squared times y.
Oh, yeah.
Why am I suggesting not making it y?
Because then you'd have to break it
Turn
up
it
again.
around anyway, right?
Yeah.
Good.
So x.
So I can take out
x squared times
the square root of x squared, which is what?
x.
And I can take out the square root of y squared, which is
Y.
y. So what's under the radical?
Xy.
And if I finish multiplying these together, what do I have out in front?
Negative x squared y squared.
Right. Radical.
Xy.
Good. 37. The square root of m times the square root of m cubed plus 6. Patrick?
It would be the square root of m times m cubed,
Well, what is that? You can put them together. Hmm?
m to the fourth,
Plus,
plus 6 m. Oh, to the square root of m.
yeah, you can't go past the radical sign unless it has a radical sign. So the square root of m to the fourth is,
M squared,
so we have m squared plus,
6 squared m.
right. 39. Meg? We have the 3, right?
Right.
Radical, all these are under radical signs, so you can multiply them together. 5 times 2 times 10 is what?
100.
And x times x squared gives you an even power, so it's x to 1. So that comes out 3 times,
3 times 10 x squared,
right, so that is
30 x squared.
good. And 41
What? Oh, sorry.
is something,
Yep.
you got it?
Yep.
41, the square root of 32 times 2, square root of 2x times the square root of 3x.
You would have 192.
Okay, I'm gonna hold off. That's gonna be 2 times 32 is 64, right?
Yeah.
Times 3. I know 64 is a perfect square, so I'm not gonna put it with 3. And then x to the
Second.
second. So the square root of 64 is
8
square root of x squared,
x
and what's left under the radical?
radical 3.
So always try to look for those perfect squares as you're doing these, so you don't have to extra work. And the last one, you have 2 radical 5x squared. So what does that mean to do?
Square everything inside.
2 radical 5x times 2 radical 5x, correct? So what does that give you, Maria?
4 radical 25x squared,
Which is a perfect, both of those are perfect squares, so that'd be 4 times,
5x,
which is,
20x.
and that's your answer. Okay,
Isn't it just
Why is it just
20x?
why is that? I don't know. Thank you for the correction. After we fix it, you can pause that thing. I'm gonna put it back. take 5 hours to correct it. Okay, it's just x.